Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. In the summer of 2004, in a modest hospital room in Beijing, an elderly woman lay quietly on her bed. Her breathing was weak, yet her eyes remained clear. In the final moments of her life, she uttered a sentence that shocked everyone. "My family was once a sinner in China's history, but being able to serve the people in this lifetime is my greatest honor." These words not only broke the silence of the hospital room but also unveiled her extraordinary life. This elderly woman was no ordinary person. She was the younger sister of Puyi, the last emperor of the Qing dynasty, and one of the last princesses of the imperial family, Zheng He. Her words were both a reflection on a century of her family's fate and an answer to the choices she had made throughout her life. Unlike her brother Puyi, who wandered in confusion and struggle, Zheng He took action to give new meaning to her family's destiny. So, how did this former Gij, imperial princess, undergo such a transformation that she would utter these powerful parting words at the end of her life? A childhood of contradictions. According to historical records, in 1921, a new life was born in the residence of Prince Chun, Puyi's younger sister, originally named Yuan. Her childhood was spent in contradiction. Although the Zheng family had long lost its former glory, strict old traditions were still upheld within the household. Every morning, younger family members had to bow to their elders. Talking was forbidden at the dining table, and excessive conversation before bedtime was discouraged. More importantly, in the grand hall, elders would often speak of the Qing dynasty's past grandeur, their words laced with fantasies of imperial restoration. Her father, Zai Feng, was gentle by nature and knew that the Qing dynasty could never be revived. At the same time, he held a special fondness for his youngest daughter. Under his arrangements, Yuan received an unconventional education, not only studying classical texts but also exploring Western literature, science, and other fields. Zai Feng firmly believed that only by breaking free from outdated ideas could the next generation have a future. In this environment, young Yuan gradually realized that the imperial status imprinted in the bloodline of the Manchu people had become meaningless. However, many in her family still clung to their noble lineage, even pinning their hopes for imperial restoration on Puyi. In 1924, General Feng Yuxiang launched a coup, and Puyi was permanently expelled from the Forbidden City, shattering the last vestiges of imperial power. Yet Puyi remained delusional, still obsessing over restoration. As a child, Yuan witnessed all of this, feeling both confusion and discontent. She was among the few in her family willing to embrace new ideas, deeply resonating with her father's belief that Manchu and Han are no different. Nobility and commoners shared the same roots. Thus, she resolved to sever ties with the past, abandon her royal identity, and embark on a new path. Zheng Yuan changed her name to Zheng He, marking the beginning of her journey toward awakening. A transformation through education. Zheng He's transformation began with education. She understood that her only asset was knowledge. So, she proactively applied to the government to become a teacher. At that time, she cut her long hair, donned simple cotton clothing, and stepped into an entirely new world, the classrooms of ordinary citizens. When she first arrived at the school, many cast curious or even skeptical glances at her. Perhaps it was because of her former imperial identity. Or perhaps it was the refined way she spoke and carried herself, always appearing different from the rest. But Zheng He didn't mind. The moment she stood on the podium, a sense of duty she had never felt before surged through her. This was not a condescending act of enlightenment, but an equal exchange. Her teaching methods were unique. She always managed to make dull knowledge lively and engaging. For instance, to help students understand complex historical events, she would use short stories to explain them. To teach mathematical concepts, she designed various hands-on activities. She encouraged students to ask questions boldly, filling the classroom with laughter and curiosity. Beyond her daily teaching, Jin Zhijian also noticed the struggles of rural Chinese women in receiving an education. She discovered that many girls had to drop out of school due to poverty or the constraints of traditional beliefs. This phenomenon reminded her of her own past. Despite being born into a royal family, she, too, was once bound by outdated traditions. Determined to make a difference, she resolved to create more opportunities for these girls to learn. She wasted no time, joining forces with like-minded friends to establish a vocational school for women. The conditions were extremely poor, just a few mud brick classrooms and some worn-out desks and chairs. But she didn't mind. She named the school Jianji, meaning to uphold one's aspirations and never give up. Here, she not only taught girls how to read and write but also provided lessons in sewing, handicrafts, and basic agricultural skills, hoping they could use education to change their destinies. In 1949, while teaching, Jin Zhijian met her future husband, Qiao Hongzhi. Qiao was a humble local worker, kind and sincere, and he shared Jin Zhijian's passion for education. Their shared ideals brought them together. After marriage, they treated the school as part of their family, pouring all their energy into it. Qiao took care of maintenance and gathering resources, while Jin devoted herself to teaching. However, fate did not grant her an easy path. In 1960, Qiao Hongzhi passed away due to illness, plunging Jin Zhijian into hardship. She had to raise 3 young children alone while keeping the school running. The weight of life pressed upon her, but she never backed down, believing that knowledge had the power to change generations. It was not until 1979 that Jin Zhijian officially retired, leaving the podium to which she had dedicated her life. Yet, even in retirement, she chose to return as a rehired teacher, continuing to contribute her wisdom and passion to education. A lifetime of dedication, her perseverance illuminated the paths of countless lives. By 2004, Jin Zhijian, now an elderly woman in her 90s, was admitted to a hospital in Beijing. Her hospital room was simple, with only a rocking chair and a few modest furnishings. Her family gathered around her bed, their eyes filled with sorrow. In the final moments of her life, Jin Zhijian slowly opened her eyes. With a weak voice, she uttered her last words. "My family was once a sinner in China's history, but being able to serve the people in this life has been my greatest honor." The room fell silent. Everyone was stunned. Her words did not come out of nowhere, they were the ultimate summary of her life. Why did she call her family sinners? Jin Zhijian did not feel ashamed of her lineage, but she had a deep understanding of the mistakes made during the Qing dynasty's rule. She knew that the dynasty's corruption and isolation had led to the country's decline, causing immense suffering for its people. This was an undeniable historical responsibility. As a member of the imperial family, she chose not to evade it. Instead, she carried that burden in her own way. Yet, the significance of her final words extended beyond history. Even though she could not change her family's past, she found her own path forward. Through a lifetime of effort, she transformed herself from the orphan of a fallen empire into a teacher. She let go of her noble status, stepped into the classroom, and used education to change countless children's destinies. She chose to define her own story through her actions rather than being confined by her family's history. Her story compels people to re-examine the legacy of the Qing dynasty and witness how one individual, amidst great change, could redefine the meaning of her lineage. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.